God bless everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to, excuse me, I want to touch on a subject that is very prolific in the U.S. today, and I want to touch on a very touchy subject, and I want to prove it biblically. Now, what am I talking about? Given the circumstances that we are living in today, especially everything that's happening in Ukraine and now with Israel and Palestine, the whole gun argument, the Second Amendment, you hear people, the pro-gun people, the Second Amendment believers and followers, and all the people, all the people called gun nuts. Okay, what I'm going to talk about today is going to be very controversial because not a lot of people will agree with how I bring this. And that's cool. You can have your disagreements, but this is what I believe. Okay? I can prove biblically that we have a right to defend ourselves. And Jesus himself says it. And this is the very controversial part. Well, not a lot of people will see eye to eye. Not a lot of people will agree with me on this topic, and others will. And there are some people who will be in the middle, and that's understandable. Because the Bible does say that my people are lost for lack of knowledge. And today, in today's world, it's hard to distinguish who's telling the truth and who's telling a lie. So take what I say with a grain of salt, okay? Don't, get all hyper, like, this guy is speaking blasphemy, da, da, da. Cool your jets. I'm a pro gun. I love guns, okay? I enjoy guns. I don't own any as of recording this video, but I want to eventually, okay? But I do airsofting. This is not an actual gun, okay? This is a BB gun. This is a toy. It takes a CO2 cartridge, this one in particular, and it shoots these little, if I could get it in there, plastic 6mm BBs. And like I said, it's called airsofting. It's a hobby. This is a toy replica of a 9mm Beretta A3. Slide works the same way as an actual 9mm Beretta. It has the same safety feature. It has the same slide catch, barrel, and all the other quirks and nooks and crannies and bells and whistles that an A3 has. Or A2, forgot which one. Anyway, but you cannot, and I will emphasize this, you cannot convert an airsoft toy into an actual firearm. You cannot do it. The pressures, if you even try to put an actual 9mm bullet in this toy, this will literally blow up in your face and in your hands. It is impossible to make this an actual firearm. It functions the same way. Hammer, trigger, boom, it goes off. Shoots a 6mm plastic BB, which is a hobby that I indulge in. And this is the controversy. A lot of people are not going to agree with me on this. But the whole controversial right now here in the United States, where I live at, is about guns and gun control and gun advocacy and pro guns and anti guns. And there's just so much. And you hear people talking about our God given right to defend ourselves. And some people will argue it is not a God given right. And I will argue, yes, it is. And I can prove it in the Bible. And this is where a lot of religious nut jobs will say, oh, I'm speaking blasphemy, because that's not what Jesus is not meant to say. But we're going to get to that in a little bit. But right now, I want to get to what Jesus actually says. Jesus says, and this is what I believe, he gives us the right to defend ourselves. In Luke 22, 36 and 37, okay? Then he said to them, meaning his disciples, but now he who has a money bag, let him take it. Because before he didn't let them take anything. And likewise a knapsack. Here's the controversial part. And he who has no sword, here's the controversial part, let him sell his garment and buy one. Now, mind you, they didn't have guns back then. They had swords and daggers and lances and sharp objects. Okay? They didn't have the technology that we have today. We are 2,000 plus years from when this was written, from when this was spoken. In 37, I'm going to continue. Don't think I didn't forget. In 37, for I say to you that this which is written must be accomplished in me. Capital M, referring to Jesus. Everything that Jesus said about himself needs to be accomplished. And he, Jesus, because there's a capital H here, was numbered with the transgressors, meaning he was numbered with the sinners, because he hung on the cross between two thieves. For the things concerning me, also again referring to Jesus, has an end. Now, I'm going to get to that part later. But right now, I want to get to the first half of 37. Jesus, and I can already hear the religious nut saying, oh, but Jesus says, and I'm gonna read it. I already know what the anti-gunners and the religious people are gonna say. I already know it. They're gonna quote Matthew 26, verses 51 through 53. And I have a counter argument to that. Okay? This is what the anti-gunners and the religious people who, don't think that we should have firearms. This is what they're going to say. This is what they're going to only tell you, right? And mind you, this is the scene where Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane, okay? I'm setting the scene for you, for those who don't know the story. Jesus is about to be crucified. He is in the garden with his disciples. He was praying, and he was about to be betrayed by Judas. So he's with his disciples, and then Judas comes with a squad, practically an army, just to capture one person. That is ridiculous, number one. For you to go out and bring an entire army with clubs, swords, and what have you, just to arrest one person. Just one. Kind of a little over the top, don't you think? But I digress. Verse 51 of Matthew 26. And suddenly one of those who was there with Jesus, this is talking about Peter, because Peter was the one who drew his sword. Jesus stretched out his hand. Sorry, with Jesus, comma, stretched out his hand and drew his sword, struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. Now, here's the part where the anti-gunners and the religious people are going to argue about what Jesus said. And people who say that the Bible contradicts itself. And I'm going to explain, no, it doesn't. Here's what verse 52 says. But Jesus said to him, put your sword in its place, meaning put it back in its sheath, put it back where you got it from. For all who takes the sword will perish by the sword. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to get to 53 in a minute. Now, basically, everyone heard the saying, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Okay? What is happening here in America is a crying shame, at least, at whatever. The anti-gunners are taking an inanimate object. This cannot do nothing unless I pick it up and do something with it. This gun cannot rack itself by itself. It cannot do anything unless someone is manipulating it. Okay? Jesus says, if you live by the sword, you will die by it. There are people in this world that are evil, very evil. And they will stop at nothing to destroy what is good and what is just, because they hate righteousness. The Bible even says it. These corrupt people are doing exactly what the Bible has said. Woe to those who call good evil and evil good. That's the time we are living right now. A person who is responsible with a firearm is being treated as a criminal. And there's so many talking points on both sides. You know, the anti-gunners say it's the guns problem. But I also agree with the other side when it's like, what about the person who's manipulating or using that firearm to do harm? What about them? Why aren't they being prosecuted? Why aren't the people, the evil person who seeks to destroy life and not preserve it, why aren't they being prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law? Why? It's like, and if that's the case, right? And this is just me thinking, right? If that's the case, then we should get rid of alcohol. How many people die every year from drunk driving? But we don't get rid of cars. We don't get rid of alcohol. Heck, we promote alcohol. In sports events, there's beer. In live shows, there's alcohol. And festivals, weddings, everywhere. There's alcohol everywhere. But if alcohol can kill you because then it puts you in a mindset that you're not in control of your body, why don't we outlaw alcohol also? We'll prosecute the person who drove drunk if they survive because they killed an entire family, but they don't want to prosecute someone who mass murdered 10 people. They want to attack the gun and not the person. It's hypocrisy. It's ridiculous. And going back to what Jesus said, he who lives by the sword dies by the sword. If you go looking for trouble, and this is just the one side of it, I'm going to get to the other side. If you go looking for trouble, guaranteed you're going to find it, and there's going to be consequences. You're going to pay for your consequences. If not in this life, guaranteed in the next. And in the other side of that, what is the Bible known as? The sword of the Spirit in Ephesians chapter 6. What, as Christians, do we live by? The Bible, the sword of the Spirit. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. You live by the word of God, you will die by it. Because there are people in this world, in other countries right now, being persecuted and murdered because they believe in Jesus Christ. Here in America, we have a document that says that we have the civil liberty and freedom, our constitutional right to religion, freedom of press, to express ourselves. That's the First Amendment. The First Amendment. I have the freedom to talk about this. I have the freedom, because I live here in the United States, to view my religious viewpoints. I'm free to do that here. In other countries, they gotta hide. They gotta be in hiding. They can't be out in public, because if not, they'll die because they believe in Jesus. You live by the gun, you die by the gun. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. And to get to the argument of what people want to use this, right? Of why Jesus says to put your sword back in its place. Let's get something straight. There was only one person in history, one, that knew his mission in life from the time he was born to the time he died. Only one. And his name was Jesus Christ. The rest of us, 2 Corinthians 5:7. For we live by faith and not by sight. We don't know when we are going to die. We don't know our mission in life. God reveals it slowly but surely. But he doesn't give us the big picture. He doesn't give us the overall picture. He doesn't tell us everything from A to Z. Because if he did, we'll go the opposite direction. Jesus was the only person in this world who knew what his mission was from beginning to end and took it head on. Everyone else, we live by faith and not by sight. Call me what you want. I do not care. This is what I believe. Go ahead. Go get a sword. Go ahead. Do what Jesus says. Buy your sword. Because the next person who has this is going to win every time. The one who has a real gun against a person with a sword is going to win every single time. We have a right, a God-given right to defend ourselves because there are evil people in this world who want to take us out. Even those who don't even believe in God have the right to defend themselves, to protect their families, the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, to raise their children, to raise their children in an environment that is safe for them so they can grow up, so they can have an environment so they can raise their children. This is utter nonsense on what's going on right now. But you know what? This is all prophesied. This is all foretold in the Bible. And I'm going to save that for another video. In the meantime, do we have a biblical, God-given right to defend ourselves? I would argue yes. And it came directly from our Savior's mouth. We live by faith and not by sight. Jesus knew from beginning to end. The only person in history. Everyone else, we just got to figure it out and trust in God. Keep it respectful in the comment section. I understand that not everyone's going to agree with this, and I said that from the very beginning, and I'm cool with that. But let's be respectful. If anything, let's be respectful. Why can't we do that? One is forcing something else on the other, and the other one just wants to be left alone. Is that too much to ask for? Unfortunately, in today's world, no, it's not. We have to fight to keep ourselves free, and that's a crying shame. But you know what? God is in control over everything. God is in control over all. And me personally, I say let it be his will and not mine. God bless everyone. You guys know what to do underneath the video. I'm not going to tell you. Every other YouTuber tells you. There's a couple buttons down there. You know what to do. God bless you guys.